Okay, so we're officially going to kick off here, and I know we have an echo, so we're going to get the line pretty much muted out here in a second. And for those that are on a speakerphone from a computer, it's generally that creates the feedback. So maybe you can just hit mute on your own phone, and it looks like most people here are muted, except for let's see, um, that cleared that up. Okay, it might be my. Okay, there we go. So let me hit record. Okay, we're good to go. All right, guys. Um, Welcome back. We're in week 2 here, and we are going to go ahead here and get started. We are on the session here of time management and productivity, and the subtitle here is learn how to protect, leverage, and use your most valuable asset, which really is your time. So let me go ahead here and mute all the phones. Okay. All right, great. So this is week number 2, and as a reminder here, guys, what we're going to go through today is just a brief recap from week number 1, and some of the items that came up in conversations, some of the observations that I've had, and also some of the thoughts and feedback that you guys have had. We'll open it up for that to begin with, and then we're going to go right into week 2, which is really time management concepts. 10 common time management mistakes, time thieves and overcoming procrastination, time management strategies, helping design a time program that actually works, and some homework, which will be a time inventory piece here. So, um, before we get into this session here, as a reminder, I'm just going to recap some of the expectations of these phone calls and also of this root camp. Um, it's really important to establish expectations, both from your side to me and from my side to you. And it's also important for me to reiterate to you guys that one of the downside risks of running a program like this that's free is, people generally respond and react uh, in comparison and in relation to what they pay for something. Um, this happens to be about 13 years worth and over $50,000 worth of money that I've spent in coaches and consultants and programs uh, that I'm really bringing to you as part of this process here. And so, I want people to understand that I'm really here facilitating this program to help you guys get the results that you're looking for in your business. And I've noticed a couple things in the first week already that have been a little bit discouraging on some fronts from some specific individuals. Not to call people out, personally, but just an overarching concern I have. And on the other hand, there was a couple folks that were very thoughtful in their homework and also in their responsiveness and in the timeliness of it. And I would just basically ask this: if I understand that life kind of happens and things get in the way, and oftentimes, circumstances come up, or there's emergencies, or there's health issues, or there's all sorts of stuff. And if we don't communicate back and forth and let people know, it's kind of expecting people to be, a mind reader. And um, and so I want people to understand that I do understand that life happens and that things kind of occur, but I can't read minds. So if I don't know what's going on in your world, and you feel like you're coming up against a deadline and you're not going to be able to fulfill a commitment that you made, to yourself, which ultimately I'm just here holding you accountable to, and we've established that in the first week. There was like 2 or 3 instances where I don't make any assumptions that somebody didn't do the work. I just have a conversation to see where their assignment was and so on. And there was about 2 instances where the person had either not registered for the class online and therefore was not in the group communication emails, so they didn't get the homework assignment email. But I also hold them accountable for reaching back out to me, to say, hey, I never really got the the information that you guys talked about, did I miss something? So I expect you guys to do that as well. And then somebody else who did register for the class actually entered their wrong email address when they registered. And so we basically got to the bottom of both of those instances and got the information off to those people. So guys, we're right now we're embarking upon a 12-week journey here, and again, the things you can expect from me is to be prepared. I'm going to be focused, and I want to stress that right now. One of the downside risks of doing webinars, and I already know that of all the people on the call right now, this is already probably happening as we speak right now, is that the tendency to want to check emails or chat in the chat box during the session, or to have your email box up at the same time. I'm just going to ask, and I'm just going to trust you guys, because I'm going to treat you guys like we're all grown adults here. This is not a parent-child relationship, where I'm the child and you're the parent, or I'm the parent and you're the child. This is all adult to adult stuff here. So I'm just going to trust that you are going to be completely present for the time that we have allocated for these meetings, and that you have everything off to the side, you have a notebook out, you have a pen out, you're ready to take questions, you're focused, and you're not thinking about everything else or trying to multitask, especially while we're teaching a course on time management. So I'm going to assume and give you guys the benefit of the doubt that that you're not going to drift off and start to go do work while we're on these calls. If you do that, nobody will know. The difference is that you're just basically cheating yourself, and so when I say focused, turn your email off. Don't put it away. Just turn it off. And let's be accountable to one another. You guys did a great job being very punctual and on time for this specific call. So congratulations for that. The information again for these calls is already on our team website, teamentheos.com, underneath our V team, underneath trainings. And let's see here. Oops, sorry about that. I don't know why there was the recording stopped, it looked like, which is not good. So let me see if I can redo the recording here. Sorry, y'all. Hang on one second. Oh, no, the recording is still on. Okay. Never mind. Can somebody just give me in the chat box, just the fact that you can hear me okay with the audio? Just because a box popped up of somebody. Yep. Okay, good. Thank you. Yep. Yes. Okay, good. All right, guys. So we're going to keep moving along here. People have to be 110% committed to their own results. And like I said, I'm just here, as your partner. Not as your parent, but as your partner. And I added 2 bullet points at the bottom here, which are expectations that came as a result of the week number 1. The first one is proactive communication. And just to reiterate that I expect people, if they can't have things done on time, or if they don't suspect they're going to get things to me or to themselves by the time they said they were going to, that there's an open line of communication there, and that I'm not going to be chasing people around. I had to chase about 4 or 5 people around in the 11th hour last night and today to get their homework assignments in. And to me, that's just really not a mutual level of respect. So I understand that was the first week, and let's just make sure that we don't do that going forward between now and year end. So as a reminder, guys, this is really the reason we're calling it a root camp is to help build deep, strong roots. You guys may not truly know the impact that this information is going to have on your life in the short term, but I can tell you that all of this stuff over time is going to have a big impact on your life and on your business. So it's a process and it takes time. We're going to go through basically week by week helping establish these roots, which ultimately are in turn going to help create the tree that's at the top there. So it's a matter of planting the right seeds, nurturing these seeds, cultivating them, and then the harvest ultimately comes. And so we've already accomplished, week 1. So congratulations, guys, for all of your work so far, for taking some time out, doing your homework, for being on the call last week, and for being on the call this week. So you're 1 week down with 11 to go, and then we got today, which is time management and productivity. So we're going to talk about some time management concepts here, and I'm just curious as a starting point. Who has had, just in the chat box, if you want to put this in there, who has had or thinks that they have some sort of a need for improvement in the time management area? Just type in yes if time management is something that you've struggled with or that you could definitely use some help with as time. Okay, so yes, everybody. So everybody that I know, including myself, has an issue with time management. And what I'm about to share with you here is some information I learned about 7 years ago from a consultant, and his name is Mark Cohen. That was the first person to introduce me to some of the stuff I'm going to share with you tonight. And Mark Cohen used to be a COO of a Fortune 500 company, and he left the corporate world basically to start working with small to mid-sized businesses to do strategic business planning and to help really with goal setting, strategic business planning, and time management and leadership development. And after I saw Mark speak, I basically just said, I have to have what he's got. What he just talked about is something I have to have. And the program he was offering was like $4,000 or something along those lines, and it was for a strategic and business planning and leadership development course. And I had no idea how the money was going to come up or where it was going to come from because I didn't have it. But somehow I figured it out and I made it happen. And I hired Mark, and Mark was one of the first and the best mentors that I ever had. And one of the things I'm going to give you as a homework assignment at the end of this for this next week is something that Mark made me do for an entire month. And one of the issues about time management is that, you know, oftentimes, people think that it's about something other than what it really is. So I'm going to have you guys write down on your pads. I'm going to ask you 5 simple questions to kind of start this session off here. And we're just going to do a general assessment on your time management skills. So the first question is, in general, and this is a question for you to answer on your own pad, okay? But in general, is your life running like you want, or are you running to catch up, consistently or constantly? Do you feel like you're always in catch-up mode, or are you running your life exactly the way that you want? So take a minute right now and write down your answer to that question. Doesn't have to be in depth, guys, or anything long, but just something generic. The second question is, during a typical day, are you primarily acting or reacting to situations? So during a typical day, are you primarily putting out fires, or are you ahead of the curve? And just think about that one for a minute. Number 3, does your life have balance and symmetry, or do you constantly feel pulled and stressed by competing demands for your attention? Does your life have balance and symmetry, or do you feel constantly pulled and stressed by competing demands for your attention? The next question is, do you typically feel relaxed and confident, or are you often tense and anxious? And then the last question is, do you feel in control, or do you feel overwhelmed? So, legend has it that a purveyor of great wisdom, was asked by a young person once, what is the greatest gift in the world? And the woman, she said, well, why, that would be to have all the time you need. But beware, for such a measure of time cannot be given to no one. We must all help ourselves to our own portion of time and learn to use it wisely. Otherwise, many of the blessings of the most precious gift will be denied us. So the fundamental truth about time, which many of us are slow to understand, is that time really is not given to us. It's only made available to us. So we don't own it, basically, but we have the privilege of using it. And time is, a lot of times viewed as the passing minutes that are measured by a clock, or the stream of days that are marked by, calendar pages. But if you actually look at time strictly from this standpoint, you'll fall short of getting the full value of the future that's awaiting you. Time really actually has two different dimensions. It's got hours and it's got energy. So by wasting one of them, you actually are wasting both. So on these 5 questions, how did you do? Are you managing your time and your life well, or do you see some room for improvement? So in the chat box, just right over there, either room for improvement or managing my time well. RFI, nice. Always room for improvement. Always room for improvement. Room for improvement. Awesome, guys. You know what? Just the fact that you're open to knowing that there's always room for improvement. Um, that's a good starting spot. So everybody's in agreement pretty much that room for improvement is kind of where we're at. So here's 10 common mistakes about time management that came a little while back when I was researching this a couple of years ago from Mind Tools. But mistake number 1 is really failing to keep a to-do list. Now we're going to talk also at the end of this session here about the difference between a typical to-do list and a productive to-do list, and I'm going to give you some free things to use. Mistake number 2 is not setting personal goals. And that's a huge issue when it comes to time management, because if you have no idea where you're going, it's hard to get there. Mistake number 3 is not prioritizing. Mistake number 4 is failing to manage distractions. Number 5 is procrastination. Number 6 is taking on too much. Number 7 is the people who thrive on being busy. And then number 8 is people who multitask. A lot of people sometimes say, I'm a really good multitasker. To be honest, nobody's a really good multitasker. It's why they actually have bad time management skills. They're not taking enough breaks. It's essential to take breaks in what we're doing. And they're ineffective at scheduling tasks, meaning that they're doing it but not effectively. So going back to number 1 here, we're going to give you a tool at the end of this that's going to help you create prioritization lists. Let's see here. Keep the current. Okay. We're going to give you basically a sheet here that's going to help you really exercise this time management muscle here. But on this list on the sheet here, if you had to put down one of these that's the one that you think might be your Achilles heel, which of these mistakes do you think, if you had to just pick one right now, put it in the chat box, and what would you say it would be for sorry guys, I keep going in and out here because the message keeps popping up. So in the chat box, put in here which one of these, if you had to just pick one real quick, would be the one, just the number. You don't have to type it out. Okay, number 4, failing to manage distractions. Number 2, not setting personal goals. Okay. Number 5. Number 5. So we had number 2. Number 5 was procrastination. Okay. Number 8, multitasking. Okay. Number 6, taking on too much. Okay. Failing to manage distractions. That's number 4. All right. Number 5 is procrastination. Number 2, not setting personal goals. Number 6. Number 4. Number 8 and number 4. Okay, so guys, so you pretty much know which one it is, right? That's a great starting point. Now, if you've never read the book, The Magic of Thinking Big, I would either go onto our website and you can order it right there on recommended reading, or you can go on Amazon. Doesn't really matter, but either get the audio version or get this book. But The Magic of Thinking Big by Dr. David Schwartz is a fascinating book. Now, one of the things he talks about is that everybody has the same amount of time in a day. You and I both have 24 hours, 168 hours in a week, no more, no less. So the question really isn't, the question really becomes is, what do you do with your time? So if we were to just kind of take a starting point here on time, there's 4 great quotes that I had that I'm going to share with you guys. The first one is, don't say you don't have enough time. You have exactly the same number of hours per day that were given to Helen Keller, Pasteur, Michelangelo, Mother Teresa, Leonardo da Vinci, Thomas Jefferson, and Albert Einstein. So we all have the same amount of time. And Sir John Lubbock basically says, in truth, people can generally make time for what they choose to. So it's really not the time, but the will that is lacking. Lord Chesterfield says, take care in your minutes, and the hours will take care of themselves. And one of my personal favorites is I am definitely going to take a course on time management just as soon as I can work it into my schedule. So people don't usually take enough time. Even going through something like this today, there's the saying that people work in their business so much, but they rarely ever take time to work on their business. And one of the reasons that this boot camp was something that was a strong desire that I had to be able to put on the table and offer was to help people kind of take a step back and to work on their business versus constantly working in their business. If you don't take time to kind of sharpen your saw, then it's going to get duller and duller and duller as time goes on. Um, Let me ask, just by again, by the chat box over to the side, is um, how many people here feel like they've worked a lot in their business but haven't really taken enough time to work on their business? Just say yes or no if you feel like you've worked a lot in your business doing the busy stuff, but you haven't really taken enough time to work on your business, like creating the roadmap of where you want it to go. Me, yes, yes, me, yes. Okay, all right, good. So it's important to take some time and think about yourself on top of a mountain, looking down at yourself and your business and your life and everything else, and ultimately getting a chance, to both. Okay, great. No, that's awesome. Taking time working in your business and on it. That's great. So let's establish an equal playing field, and some of this might be a little sobering, and if it is, that's good. But the equal playing field is this. Think about your life as a starting point. Okay, now if you're fortunate enough, maybe you'll live about 85 years. Okay, which basically means you have about 745,000 hours, 31,000 days, 4,400 weeks, and 85 years. That's it, right? You come out of the box, you come out of the womb, and here's your gift, right? You got 745,000 hours and 31,000 days and 4,400 weeks. And if you're lucky, 85 years. And you've probably all heard the quote that says it's not the number of years in your life that matter, but the number of years in your life that matter. So some people, and I'm sure we all have friends and family and people that we loved that died too soon and died too early. And the question is, if we were to die tomorrow, are we living our life as vibrantly and as passionately and as successfully and as impactfully as we could? So that's our life. Now, if we look at our week, okay, we all have the 168 hours and 7 days and 1 week every week. That's really what we all have to play with. And from there, if we look at our day, we all have 24 hours and we all have 1 day in a week, in a day. So when we really break this down to its most common denominator, the question always becomes, not to have 10 or 15 or 20 things to focus on every day, but what is like the one thing in your Veridian business that if you did it every day would have the greatest impact to your growth as an organization? So if you had to type in the chat box there, if you could do one thing every day that would have the greatest impact in your business, what would it be? Type in the chat box what that one thing would be. So I see STP, setting appointments efficiently. Yep, STP, appointments, making phone calls, recruiting prospects. Okay, STP and follow-up. Okay, so this is interesting because the one thing that most people put down here was STP, saying that if they did one thing every day that would have the greatest impact on their business, it would be showing the plan. And I would basically say, what has to happen before you actually show the plan? So type that in the chat box. In order to be able to show the plan, contact and invite, prospecting, phone calls, contacting, setting appointments. Good, good. Set your course, appointment. Okay. Guys, I would tell you right now that if you made 10 phone calls a day and you committed to that, 10 to 15 prospecting calls a day, if that was the only thing that you took out of this entire class today, that would have the most profound impact on your business. Okay? Hands down, that would have the most profound impact on your business. Everything else from there will get better, will get more refined, will get this, that, whatever. But see, oftentimes we think about like, oh my gosh, I have to block out 3 hours. Like when am I gonna block off 3 hours? And people get overwhelmed and therefore they procrastinate and then they don't do the work that's necessary. So if you just did, you know, 10 to 15 phone calls every day, that would have the most profound, that would be able to help you show the plan more often than anybody else. So coming back to the screen here, let's break down the 168 hours in a week. So most people should spend, according to doctors, about 50 hours a week sleeping, about 7 hours per night. Okay, most people are spending 50 hours a week at work, counting their commute time and so on. So far, between sleeping every night for 7 hours a night and going to work for 50 hours a week, we're basically at 101 hours. On average, people spend about 15 hours a week eating, figuring 2 hours for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and a few hours here and there for snacks. That's 116 hours now that we're up to. So now we've slept, we've eaten, we've commuted, and we've worked. Now we throw in 24 hours in a week, 2 hours per day, for relaxing, reading, watching television, playing with kids, making love with a spouse, getting some exercise, whatever. That's up to 140 hours now. And on top of all that, throw in 4 hours a week for either going to church, watching a football game, or something else and things of that nature. Okay, so that's 144 hours for somebody who commuted, went to work for 50 hours, got 7 hours of sleep, exercised every day, made love to their spouse, watched TV, read the books, relaxed, went to church, ate meals, spent time with kids, and so on and so forth. So the question then always becomes, what are people doing with those 24 extra hours every week? And what do most people say? I don't have 24 extra hours every week. I can barely keep up with what I have. And we say, well, something's not working here. Something's not adding up. Because if you look at how this is all breaking down here, this is what it really looks like on a per diem basis. And so you have 24 hours in a day, and you've got 3 different segments in a given day. You've got sleep, you've got work, and you've got other. Okay, so the benefits of sleep are obviously to feel better, to be healthier, mental health. A lot of people say, I don't really need a lot of sleep to function. And that can become one of their major issues as to why they have bad time management skills. Because you don't function at your highest level of energy, your highest level of productivity, your highest level of capacity, your best attitude. You don't have the best relationships because you're a little on edge and you're always trying to play catch up. So it's imperative, I don't care who the person is, for them to really function at their highest peak performance. 6 to 8 hours of sleep is really what's required. On top of all the other health issues, drinking water and exercising and so on. But the middle 8 hours is we have to do something for work, right? Either to make money or provide for your family or pay your bills, enjoy some people work because they love what they do, or they have a sense of accomplishment, they have a pride in their effort, all sorts of different things that revolve around the work box. But on the far right-hand side here is we have the other 8 hours in any given day. That's going to be either reading, commuting, traveling, exercising, sports, golf, coaching, children's activities, prayer, meditation, TV, talking on the phone, surfing on the internet, shopping, vacationing, hobbies, personal development. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to carve out, I'm trying to carve out of your busy lives a couple hours in this other category so that I can help replace the necessity of you having to go to work every day to generate income coming from the middle category. And so if we're able to change some of our behavior, if we're able to change some of our lifestyle, if we're able to say no to something or to many things in order to say yes to something else, then that's when we have a winner on our hands. That's when we have the agent of change. That's when we have zero excusitis. That's when we have no real reason that we're not going to succeed in this business or in life in general. Because Jim Rohn's quote of saying, he wants to work part-time, full-time on his job while he's working part-time on his fortune, so that at one point he's making as much money working part-time on his fortune as he's making working full-time on his job. And when you think about the leverage and the wealth creation that comes from possibly what it is that we do, that's a brilliant thing. But on the far right hand side here, we're going to have to say no to a lot of things and a lot of people that we actually care about and that care about us in order to say yes to something else. And for those of you that were at Power Up, not this past year, but the year before, Darren Hardy spoke, and he gave a story of Richard Branson. And Richard Branson was offered $350,000 to come to a university to give a half an hour keynote speech at the graduation. And it did not fit in to his personal life plan at that moment in time, so he had to say no. But think about, guys, think about how many people, if you were offered the invitation for $350,000 to go somewhere to speak for a half an hour, how many of you guys would take that offer? In the chat box, just say yes or no. If you were offered $350,000 to go speak at a university, how many of you would accept that offer? Yes, pick me, no brainer. No brainer, yes. Me. Yeah, me too, guys. Right now, at this stage of all of our lives, I think we would probably say, are you kidding me? Without a doubt. But think about the level. If I was a billionaire, I'd have a different perspective. Well, that's an interesting comment right there. And what I'm going to say to that comment is that to be a billionaire, you have to act like a billionaire today. So for all of us that would say, of course, no brainer, sure I would, whatever, we don't have the mindset of being a billionaire or even being a multi-millionaire, which means that we're willing to say yes to things that aren't even part of our game plan, and think about that as a distraction, right? Think about that as a something that's pulling us off course. So when I first heard that story, I was like, man, I would definitely have probably said yes. But the more I thought about it, the more I really understood that it's not necessarily, see, people, and guys, if you're working on some stuff right now, emails or text messages or other stuff, again, I encourage you, to stay focused during this session that's here. And I'm just going to kind of repeat that as we go through these trainings, because the tendency to drift off always exists. But guys, one of the inverted realities that a lot of people have in life is that they say things like, well, once I get to this place, then I'll be able to do that. Or once I have more money, then I'll be able to go do this and go do that. Or, when I get to here or this place, in life, then I'll go do that. And it's basically, you don't get the power to do the thing. And I remember vividly, 6 or 7 years ago, we were talking to a lot of private equity investors, and we were almost about to land a deal with these private equity guys for my long-term care business. They wanted to invest about $50 to $100 million, potentially, quote unquote, to really launch this thing on a national scale and go through all sorts of acquisitions and buy out other agencies and create this whole thing. And for about 2 or 3 months, as we're going through that whole process, I wasn't doing the daily actions I knew I had to be doing, like making phone calls, setting appointments, and doing that work, because I was all caught up in this whole dream of like, well, once we get all that money from the private equity people, then I'll go to work. Then I'll be able to roll my sleeves back up and kind of get after it. And we mutually decided that it really wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right fit, it wasn't the right market, it wasn't the right industry, it wasn't the right return on investment, all that stuff. And that kind of forced me to have to go back to what I knew I needed to be doing anyway. And there was a quote, again, that said, you don't get the power to do the thing. You have to do the thing to get the power. And that's really what this is all about. It's doing the thing to get the power. Whatever the thing is in this business, I'd say it's 10 to 15 phone calls, on any given day. That's the thing. And the power you're going to get is basically, the recognition. It's going to be the financial portion, the time freedom. Who keeps coming on and off the call here? I keep hearing dings galore. Okay. See you, Dennis. So you have to do the thing to get the power. You don't get the power to do the thing. So here's a couple of different time thieves. And I want everybody to kind of be cautious or careful of these, in their life. Number one is not having a clear vision of where you're going. That's a huge time thief because it allows everybody else's scheduling or anything else that occurs on any given day, to become the thing of the day, the thing du jour, because you don't really have a vision that's clear enough for where you're going in your own life. The second thing is procrastination. Now, I'm just going to take a minute here, and I'm going to stay on that one for a second. But, an anonymous writer once proclaimed that the greatest stumbling block in the path of most men is not laziness or fear, but it's an enemy called tomorrow. The days and the weeks pass, but tomorrow never arrives. It's like giving hugs to shadows, or it's like chasing a shadow. I'll lose weight tomorrow. I'll call him tomorrow. I'll read that book tomorrow. I'll work on that idea tomorrow. Good intentions undermined by laziness and indecision are good for absolutely nothing. All of tomorrow is not worth 5 minutes of today. All of tomorrow is not worth 5 minutes of today. You can get it done right now. So if you're tempted to put things off till tomorrow, I'm going to give you a simple 3-step process to help you overcome your inertia. All right, so jot this down. Number 1 is just be aware, okay, and be alert to your tendency to procrastinate. And when you find yourself doing it, then just catch yourself in the act of procrastinating and then resist the temptation and refocus your attention on the project at hand. Okay, that's one of the 3-step processes here. Just be alert, be aware of it. Number 2 is determine the action steps required to get the project moving. What do you have to do? What resources or information do you need to gather? Don't let your mind wander. Keep thinking until you determine at least one meaningful action step, no matter how elementary it may seem. Now, I'm going to basically, if you guys pull my screen here, so I'm going to give you an example here of an action step. I'm working on a campaign right now, and I'm working with a marketing woman, and the campaign has taken forever, but at least we kind of have a clear layout of what we're looking to do. So I'm going to give you an example of something in a grander scale. So when we first started, we wrote down all the different things that were required to get this program, this one campaign or project done from beginning to end. And it takes about a half an hour to really get it out of your brain and put down all the different items, that have to get done, from finalizing an email signature to recording video sections to 5 different video sections to changing the layout of the welcome message, changing the verbiage of the welcome message, changing the icons for the video thumbnails, choosing the headline from a list that she provided to me, this, that, whatever, all this different stuff. Then we basically put down, who's responsible, how much time it's probably going to take to get done, and by when, and then what the status is. So this has taken us probably 6 months so far of moving forward, and this list was all red in the beginning. And you can see how much progress we've made by having the campaign pretty much now about 60 to 70% done. And most of these items are done here. So one of the things, the reason I'm showing you that is to basically, number 2 in the 3-step process is to determine the action steps that are required to actually get the project moving along, and that'll have a big impact for you as well. Number 3 is determine exactly, when you're going to perform this action, and that's kind of going back to the target date, because commitment increases your motivation. So number 3 is excuses. Another enemy of effective time organization is the habit of excusing our inaction. And we more often than not waste time explaining why we haven't gotten around to doing something than it would have taken us to actually do it. My dad used to have a saying when we were growing up that was, begun is half done, meaning that we overthink how much this is going to really require, when you just take the first action step, the project is already theoretically and emotionally and mentally already halfway done. So begun is half done. But we oftentimes spend more time explaining why we didn't do something or how we haven't gotten around to doing it that would have actually taken us to do it. And when we manage our time poorly, the question is, do we make excuses? And the answer for all of us is yes, including myself, guys. So I'm not above anybody. I'm right next to you, side by side, just being aware of it. I would have finished. These are some common phrases, by the way. I jotted down from a course I took about 3 years ago that was in this workbook. People generally say, "I would have finished it, but dot dot dot." Um, I was late because dot dot dot. I still plan to do it, but dot dot dot. I could not finish it because I was waiting on someone else or something else. So basically, if you have excuses that you're using, stop. Stop making excuses. Every time that you excuse yourself for poor time management, you give yourself permission to repeat the same bad behavior. Excuses waste time and energy, as we talked about before, and they're basically announcing to the world that you don't know how to manage your time. People who can't manage their time can't manage themselves, and people who can't manage themselves can't possibly manage other people. Leaders must learn to manage their priorities, guys, all of us, and control their circumstances, not for any of us in this call to be managed or controlled by circumstances. So substitute action for verbal rationalization. As you gain more control over your life, you're going to gain more credibility and capability as a leader. It's amazing at how when we don't allow, or when you're around people who don't allow excuses to play out. A lot of you guys I've talked to offline over the last year, week, this, that, 2 years, 3 years, 3 months, 2 days, whatever. And one of the things you'll notice about me, if you haven't noticed it already, is that I don't allow you, to give me excuses. I don't entertain the conversation because I'm trying to strengthen a muscle for you. And if you refrain on your own from making excuses, then you're going to see how much better you are at time management. Again, one of the things that we always had to say growing up, even if we were justified in not getting something done, but we had plenty of time to do it and something happened, barring anything other than a health issue or a death or something serious, the only answer that we were allowed to give was, I have no excuse, and it'll never happen again. That's it. There was no story, there was no yes but, or I would have finished it but, or I was late because, or I still plan to do it but. Just don't even allow yourself to go there, because it disables your whole character of credibility. So if you didn't get your homework assignment in, for example, on time this week, just do a better job in getting it done this coming week. Be one of the people who gets it done by Friday or by Saturday, or on time. But it's a discipline, and the more that we do that discipline, it becomes a habit. So if you can do something, guys, for the next 30 days, it can become a habit, and once it becomes a habit, then all of a sudden it's not going to require as much willpower. Because one of the big problems that we all have is we only have so much willpower. So that's enough for excuses and procrastination. But how about number 4 is living in other people's agendas? The world is constantly marketing to us, demanding things of us, and and emailing us their stuff. Well, how much are we becoming part of their agenda? Because it's amazing. Some people live a pretty big life. They have 100,000 Twitter followers, or 10,000 followers on Facebook, or we consider that to be pretty big. But in the grand scheme of 7 billion people on the planet, it's still pretty small. But some people are appearing to live a very, very impactful and full life, and a lot of us sometimes fall into other people's lives. So we want to learn from the best, but we don't want to get caught up into everybody else's agendas. Find people that are there to really kind of help you and that are providing you value. Plug into some of the stuff that they have, but don't always get taken down these little rabbit holes. That just one rabbit hole after the other leads to a life of inefficiency. And then number 5 is really living a life of of regret, and that's really what this is not about. A lot of people though, kind of wallow in their regrets. So if they're not moving forward, then they're gonna be like, oh my God, I should have done this, I should have done that, and all of a sudden they end up, should-having all over themselves. And just don't wallow in your regret. Just to make sure we're all kind of on the same page here, and we're all still in tune. Of these time thieves, which one would you say that you're going to work on the most, or which explanation that we've had so far of these, provided you the most value? 2, 5, 2. I trip and fall into too many rabbit holes. Okay. Okay. Number 2, that's procrastination. Number 5 is living in regret. Okay, number 5. I should have done this, should have done that. Okay, good, good. Well, thanks. Good, guys. Good honesty here. Procrastination. Yep. Following in other people's agendas. Okay, great, Danielle. Neva, other people's agendas. Yep. An email. Uh, Cam, 2 and 5. Procrastination and yep. Awesome, guys. So so that's really just when you think about how we lose the ability to have time management. These are some of the key areas. So here's one of the things I'm going to show you as a tool to use. How many of you guys use a to-do list, a regular to-do list? Just type in yes in the chat box or no. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, it's too long, so I ignore things. I only laugh because I understand that. No, I should. Occasionally. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to show you guys two sheets. One, if I can find it quickly here. If I can't find it quickly, I'll just okay, hang on one second here. This is a sheet I'll make available to you guys as well. Let me just find it here. I should have had it pulled up before, but I had the other sheets pulled up instead. So hang on one second. Okay, got it. Okay, so I have two sheets here. I'm going to come back to the second one after this. So one of the things I always used to have was a well, actually, you know what? Before I get into that chart here, again, back in the chat box, last question here for a little while. How many of you use kind of like a running to-do list in like a daily planner where you get all your thoughts out of your head and you get them onto a sheet of paper and you just get a kind of a running tally of your projects that you're working on or the things that you're responsible for? Yes, but rolling events follow. Okay, okay. No, okay. All right. So this is a skill set that that definitely will have. The older you get, the more you need to do. Okay. Why at various sites? Okay, cool. Um, this is a skill set. So here's a sheet that I'm going to make available as a follow-up. It's a PDF, and what you'll notice here is 4 quadrants, right? So some things are urgent, and some things are not urgent, and some things are important, and some things are not as important. So I kind of look at this as quadrant number 1 are all the things that are urgent and important. And I personally, I just put this in here. I did not come up with this chart myself, guys. This is an age-old system here, but I just categorized it for myself as a time frame, which was things that were urgent and important is today. Things that are not urgent but important are this week. Things that are urgent but not important is this month, and things that are not urgent and not important are this quarter, meaning that they're not immediate. So let me explain how this kind of works. Now, some of you might be asking, well, why would something be not urgent and important and be more important than something that's urgent and not important? Well, it's interesting when you think about it, but if you were to do your to-do list, and I transferred over probably about 2 years ago at the recommendation of a coach I had to transfer my to-do list into this 4 quadrant list instead, and it really helps figure out where the focus needs to be on that given day, and these are the things that have to get done that day. Now, if you find yourself putting everything on here, and there's just no way that you're possibly going to get any of it done in one day, then you're delusional, to yourself, and you're setting false expectations for other people as well, because we all only have 24 hours in a day. So we have to really figure out, how to prioritize and what things are going to basically help drive you to make money. Because the more you can exercise that, the better off you're going to feel, the more confident you're going to be, the more the better self-image you're going to have. I mean, everything's impacted by that. So I would basically say that I find it hard to decide which categories tasks belong to. Okay. Let me come back. Let me pull up the chat there. So somebody had a question that was to the entire audience. I find it hard to decide what categories tasks belong to. Too many feel urgent and important. Um, that's an issue. That's definitely an issue that needs to be worked out and resolved because not everything is urgent and important. So give me an example, guys, of something that you feel would be urgent and important, or something that you guys have on your to-do list that is urgent and important. That was something that you needed to get done today. We're talking about business for the most part, guys. We're not talking about, okay, respond to client, um, school work assignments, follow up with prospect, this call, okay, conference call, follow up, setting up appointment for next week, writing a letter to attorney and Corbo, okay. So here's what I would do. So some of these things are great, but I would also get specific when you actually do the exercise. Like respond to a client, Maurice. I would put, call Jason back, by 4 o'clock. Something really specific that way. And then sometimes maybe even put the phone number there to make it really easy to have on file. Or Russ, school work assignments. Well, what specifically does that mean? What is the actual assignment, and what needs to get done in order to get that completed? So that's the recommendation for that. Lindsay, good job on this call. Maybe one of the urgent and important things, is complete week 2 homework assignment, for root camp. And guys, that might fall under here for now. It might not be urgent because it's not today, right? It might fall under this week. And ultimately, as you're knocking things off a certain part of the list, certain things are going to come into this urgent and important box. But they're not all urgent and important today. They're not all things that have to get done right now. So, yeah, so some people wrote, the emotional part of a task, makes it feel more urgent than absolutely is, but the stress of exactly. So that's other people's agendas as well, and you know, you'll get you'll know. It's not hard if you did this chart every day for the next 30 days, you would know what things are urgent and important and what things are not. So let me give you some examples of some other issues here. And I would basically say, and Hank, good suggestion there, and I completely agree with that. So what I do, guys, is before I go to bed every night, I fill this chart in so that when I wake up the next day, I kind of know exactly what I'm going to do to focus on, the next day. I know exactly the kinds of things. I'm not going to wake up and then spend the first half an hour or the hour of the day focusing on it. I'm basically going to have this thing done before I go to bed so that I have my mind cleared. Everything's going to be out of my brain, and it'll all be on this sheet here. Now, you might be asking, what things are not urgent but are important? Well, that's an interesting question because the example is really, think about like a dry cleaner. Think about getting your dry cleaning from the dry cleaner. Now, say the dry cleaner closes at 6 o'clock, so it's urgent. It might not, however, be that important. You might be able to go a day or 2 or 3 without picking up your dry cleaning. So, therefore, the oops, somebody just put something down there. Okay, never mind. So therefore, that might fall into category 3, which is pick up dry cleaning. And when I say this month, that doesn't always mean that you're going to wait the whole month to do it. It's just a matter of segregating out where it is in box 1, 2, 3, 4. You could even get rid of today, this week, this month, or this quarter. and have it blank. But so pick up dry cleaning. Something like that would be more on a personal level. I'm just giving you an example, though, to give you a something to relate to. However, what if you had your dry cleaning at the dry cleaners today or on Thursday, and you're going to a wedding on Saturday, and you have to pick it up on Friday? Well, all of a sudden, somehow that dry cleaner visit becomes quadrant one, right? It becomes urgent and important. So, but if it wasn't that urgent and important, then maybe it wouldn't be as big of a deal. So, but I would suggest, and guys, I'm gonna have how many of you just by the chat box again have gone to the team website to see where the archive information is from the first call? So you have, I have, okay, me, nope, yes, yes, but not read through. Okay. No. Okay. Not yet. Okay. All right. So let me just show you guys all where that is, just so you have. Oops. Hang on one second. So if you go to our team website, www.teamentheos.com, this is where we have our oops, takes a minute here with the GoToMeeting running, so hang on one second. So under training, calendar, and events, under Root Camp archives, as you all know, it's password protected and it's positive. So the week one, this was a recording of week one, and these were the documents that we talked about during the recording, and we're gonna have week two. So don't let too many weeks go by without really kind of diving into this information, because the 12 weeks that we have laid out here are truly designed, to help you build a long-term sustainable business. So there's nothing on this list here that's by accident. Everything is on purpose. And if you take each week seriously, week by week by week, by Christmas time, by the end of the year, by the 31st, by New Year's Eve, you guys are going to be so much further ahead, than most associates. It's not even funny. The other tool that I use is from Brendan Bouchard, and he's an extraordinary trainer and speaker, and he's got a one-page High Performance Academy productivity sheet here. I'm going to put this and the not urgent quadrant thing on our website as a that's where the documents will be stored. So he just basically has, there's usually 3 projects that we're working on at any given point in time. We'll focus on, what things have to happen, what 5 big things must happen to move this project forward. And you just list them out here. People I need to reach out to today, boom, 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 boom. And then people I'm waiting on, and have that sheet right here. And then the priorities, what are the main things that I must complete today? This is kind of that urgent and important quadrant, no matter what. So come hell or high water, the day won't come and go, before you get these things done here. So this is a one-page sheet that that will have a profound, again, impact on your life and on your business. So just by a chat box show of hands, I guess, or just a yes, whatever, no. How much do you think these 2 tools, the time management quadrants and this one-page sheet from Brendan Bouchard, are going to help you guys if you actually implement? Okay, Hank, yes. Cameron, yes, great, yes, all of it. Brendan Bouchard is great. Yes, will help, definitely. Okay, so everybody, awesome. So now here's one of the homework assignments I'm going to give to you guys, and we're going to do this for a week starting tomorrow. You can actually start today if you wanted to. Okay, so this is a time matrix sample, and I have this in a blank sheet. But here's kind of how it works. So at the top, most of these are going to be blank. Okay, these are items that happen on any given day, whether it's meetings with staff, phone calls, personal time, meetings with clients, travel time, reports, correspondence, writing proposals, training, returning emails, boom, boom, boom. This will be blanks. You can fill this in on your own, whatever activities you do on a day-by-day basis. And like I talk to people about, guys, in the financial world, when you're first doing a budget, don't be embarrassed. Okay, don't try to fudge the system. Don't try to make it seem like you're way better than you really are. You know, just track where you're spending your time right now and do it earnestly and do it honestly. And the homework assignment is like, for example, if you look back over today, and you knew that the times, by the way, guys, are going to be different. It's going to be like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. But just to give you an example here, if you knew that you were on this call from 5 o'clock to 6:30, then you would take that time and you would basically shade it out. Now, each of these is 15-minute increments, right? So when you look at a batch of two of these, that's 30 minutes. So this is 30 minutes plus 15, that's 45 minutes right there. This is 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 15 minutes to 75 minutes right there. So a little hour and 15 minutes. Here is half an hour, half an hour, 2 hours was this writing proposals. So this is an example here, and if you were to look back over today and fill in these blank spots with stuff, then we're going to basically be able to get an inventory. I think one of the best places for you guys to have a baseline on where you're spending your time. Because if you go back to that chart that we had here, at the end of the day, we all only have so much of it. And if we can't do an honest inventory or assessment to kind of get clear on where is it that we're spending our 168 hours in the course of a week, then there's not really a whole lot of place that a coach or a mentor or anybody else can kind of offer guidance or feedback or input or things of that nature. I had to do this exercise for an entire month when I did this, and it was alarming, what kind of came out at the end of that month. A lot of the things that I was working on, I thought were extremely important, and the reality was that it was busy work, but it was not leading me to the land of productivity and profitability as fast as possible. So, like I said, guys, I'm in the same place as you. I've just been doing this stuff specifically with some of these exercises between this book and between this sheet, a couple other sheets, and having some consultants and coaches that hold me accountable. I've just been doing this kind of stuff for 7 or 8 years, as consistently as possible. And I still, to this day, fall off the wagon. I fall off the wagon, and I got to get back on, on any given day. So I am just as susceptible to all of this stuff as each of you on this call. One of the differences between me and you is that I don't let other people's agendas run my life, and I'm not saying that you do, but some people put that down as one of the key numbers that they had to work on. And I try to do this sheet, my to-do list, every single day, and literally just start to focus all my attention on the areas that are the most urgent and the most important. And I can tell you, one of the things that showed up when I had to do this exercise that you're going to do for this week is how much time I was spending in quadrants 3 and 4 and 2, and not in quadrants 1. And the reason that we do that is because we all like the feeling of checking stuff off of our list, but it doesn't necessarily build our bank account. And and we can have the attitude of saying, well, I know better, and it'll all work out for me one day, and but you know what? That's pride, it's ego, and at the end of the day, we want to help you guys get to the position where you guys can delegate some of this stuff, to people that it could be part of your team. So, so that's going to be basically the exercise is going to be going through this sheet here, and basically shading in, where your time actually goes. So we have a where do we have it here? Sample time use, blank time forms. Boop, 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 boop. So I use this form here, and you can basically take out all these things there, or we can have this sheet here. You can we can change out some of the times, but I'm going to make this sheet available. I'll send it in a follow-up email, and it's also going to be available on on the website here. So your goal, or not the goal, your homework assignment for this week is in order for you guys to get a baseline of your time and how you're spending it and where you're spending it, just to see, how much of it is actually going into this other section. So if the other section over here is supposed to be an hour or 2 hours a day, for Viridian stuff, the question's going to really ultimately become, we have these great goals, we have these ambitious things that we're looking to get accomplished between now and year end, but how much time and by doing what are we actually committing to making that a reality? So just by a comments down below, this will be a good opportunity as I'll be in Europe. Well, we can talk offline on that. So who's in agreement by the chat box here that that they will fill out this sheet each day, and between Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, those are going to be 5 days, that you will have those 5 days worth of your time tracked and scanned and emailed over to me by Sunday at 3 o'clock. I can do that. Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. I commit. Good. And guys, this is going to be a powerful exercise for you. Trust me when I tell you that nobody else in the Viridian Network is getting information like this, and nobody else is going to be embarking upon the kind of work that you guys are embarking upon. And financial freedom is not easy. Time freedom is not easy. And so my hat's off to you guys for taking on the challenge, taking on the commitment. Okay, this is painful. I've done this with food too, but found it hard. Yes, it is hard. Listen, if financial freedom and time freedom were easy, everybody would have it. So, all right, guys, I'm going to unmute the phone here. I just want to hear comments, feedback, thoughts. Let me unmute the phones here, and whoever wants to chat first. This is a open forum here for a minute. I know it's a little bit background noise, a little bit of fuzzy, but I wanted to have a little background. So, any comments, thoughts from the first session to today?
When I've had to take inventories, this is Danielle, it's really where the rubber meets the road. It's where my, what we used to call in Debtors Anonymous, terminal vagueness has to go away.
Yep.
Basically telling me I have to turn off the TV no matter what.
Yep. By the way, Don, yes, that's Tuesday through Saturday, correct.
All right, Mike.
Terminal vagueness is a great phrase, yes. What are some other thoughts so far, guys? You're 2 weeks into this 12-week program. What are some of your other thoughts or comments? This is, again, crowd participation.
Well, I think this week is not that what we went over in the presentation wasn't useful, but I mean I think there's some really useful stuff, the time management aspect.
Cool. Maurice, your question above, let me find that here. Is it worth it also to look at taking a self-assessment of why we are not doing things we should be doing? No, not for now. Let's just take the just do the inventory of where time is going, and that's all we'll focus on for now.
Some of the tools that you introduced, I use, not all, but some, in different places. For instance, my iPad I use as an appointment schedule calendar. My to-do list is a different separate list. I think this will be beneficial in terms of keeping it all in one place, in terms of a better organization.
Yep.
Actually, relating to that, I have found that when I put it in my iCal calendar, it just gets completely overwhelmed and blocked up with the things that are too ambitious for me to get done in a given day. So I think a better system really works for them for, the calendar stuff and really getting to reminders of other things. I would love to hear about it, whether it's an app or just a personal system.
So here's what I would say, guys. I'm going to mute the lines here. So my ultimate goal and desire for you guys is to have you all, be partners and above, in Veridian, or just leadership in your own life. And so I'm gonna request, okay, not suggest, but I'm gonna request that as you're going through my root camp for the next 12 weeks, that whatever system that you're using, I'm going to ask you to use these sheets, especially for this week, okay, and follow these systems here. So you're gonna track your time. That's number one, just to get a baseline. And I'm gonna have conversations with you guys offline. Ultimately, one of the biggest mistakes, and I learned this from a CEO, a friend of mine out in the West Coast. His business does about $30 million a year, and he said that one of the biggest sabotages of success that successful people have is attempting to go create something of their own or new, prior to mastering something that's already been working for somebody that's further down the path, which is where they want to get to. And oftentimes, and myself included, guys, oftentimes, we'll think that we have a better system, a better tool, a better app, a better technology, a better, easier thing, easier that, and basically we deviate away from something that's already working in many thousands of people's lives, thinking that we can actually do it better. And my suggestion and request is that you use the tools that we have here now, and then as you get to become, senior consultant, director, senior director, executive director, partner, I would say that once you become a senior director in this business, I will at that point give you way more autonomy, than you're going to have from me up until then. Because we got a lot of people that, that want to do it their way, and they're still a senior associate, or they're still a senior consultant, So until somebody is a senior director or even an executive director, and I would even say a partner in this business, then they're not going to have as much autonomy, as they'd like. So if you really like autonomy, then get to those ranks as fast as possible, because nobody listens, to anybody. I hope you don't, who doesn't have some sort of a track record or results to show for what they're talking about. But a lot of times people have a lot more to say when they have less to show. And I'll wrap it up by saying, Lou Holtz always says it best, and he says, when all's said and done, way more gets said than done. So, so the homework assignment, guys, is I'm gonna email out that sheet to track your time starting tomorrow. If you want to, I'm gonna have a bonus out there for anybody who wants to be a teacher's favorite. If you wanted to fill an extra one out for today, then go back and fill one out today and scan it to me tonight. It's not a requirement, but for anybody who wants to do that. So the other stuff there is the homework assignment is basically to use the quadrant sheet along with the Brendan Burchard sheet. Have those filled out every day, every night before the day starts, and then track your time. So we're all good on that, guys? Yes. Awesome. Yes. Good, 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 good. Yes, yeah, all gravy. Yep, cool. Well, guys, that pretty much is going to conclude our session. Maurice, do you want me to read this question out loud, or were you just put this down here? Maurice just basically said it's a great exercise, and probably 99.9% of people don't want to do something like this because of fear, and it always comes down to fear. Guys, last thing to write down. Write this down. Do you guys know what fear is an acronym for? Fear is an acronym for false evidence appearing real. That's fear. False evidence appearing real. So, fear is fear. Um, anyway, guys, that's all we got for this week, and I'll look forward to touching base with all of you in the coming week. Please don't be a stranger throughout the week, and if you have any issues that need communication, communicate with me. Don't let me try to read your mind because I'm horrible at that. So, anyway, guys, kudos to you for being on the call again, taking time out of your busy schedules to grow, to learn, and trust me when I tell you that I believe in you guys. I believe in you. I believe in you. I believe in you. And the goal is for all of us to continue to just believe in ourselves as much as possible. You can definitely do this, guys. You can live the life of your dreams. And it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to happen little 1 week at a time types of stuff. So kudos to you guys for taking the time and being on this stuff. And we'll look forward to next week. So take care.